The question before the chair is that the motion be agreed to, and I call the member for Petrie.
Well, thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I reject the motion put forward by the member for Longman and the numerous assertions she makes in its defence. It's more of the same: grandstanding, scaremongering, reckless, baseless blocking of practical measures designed to advance the interests of Australians. The member for Longman says no to company tax cuts and relief for employers so that they may create jobs. She says no to equalising penalty rates so that employers may offer additional hours and employ more people. The Fair Work Commission has echoed the Productivity Commission in advocating for a modernising of 4 of 122 awards as a solution to increase pressure on employers. Essentially, the Commission has determined that the disutility of working on a Sunday is the same as that which comes from working on a Saturday, and finds both should be compensated. And I agree they should be compensated for working on Sundays. And it's true, isn't it? Saturday or Sunday, working on the weekend is unlikely to be favoured by the majority without some form of sweetener. As the Tourism Accommodation Australia Chair said, for us, the objective was to modernise the award, not to abolish penalty rates, but to make it relevant to the 21st century as a means of employing more Australians. And just for the record, who is the chair of Tourism Accommodation Australia? Old Labor stalwart, the former head of the ACTU, Martin Ferguson. And he's right. When I talk about compensation for work on the weekend, I'm referring to loading under the award. Of course, the majority of workers in the hospitality and retail sectors do not receive penalty rates by method of settling pay, and most are not paid under an award, but are instead subject to enterprise agreements. So when the member for Longman hopped into Coles when she was campaigning to thank staff for working over Easter, here she is here with her little Easter egg card and all the rest of it, she was much the over-eager bunny. Did she tell those workers she stopped in to thank that the reason they weren't getting a full holiday pay loading was the union had ripped the guts out of the award? Did she tell them that? I don't think so. I don't think so. I got to laugh at Will here. He says, did the girls serving you mention that thanks to the unions, Woolworths and Coles get away with paying their workers time and a half on Sundays with no penalty rates on Saturday as is? I bet she didn't mention that. No, I'll go on, but not their bosses, not the Fair Work Commission, not the government, the unions who seem to take the same position on penalty rates as the Labor Party takes on company tax cuts. They support them, but only if they are the ones doing the cutting. The unions, not workers, have a good friend in the member for Longman who can't see the wood for the trees. Mel Tate, General Manager of the Marumba Downs Tavern, located in neighbouring Dixon, gave evidence to the Fair Work Commission. The tavern employs 32 people, and according to Mel, she could provide longer shifts for existing permanent employees and also more casual and permanent employees if penalty rates were equalised. A stone's throw from Longman, Mel could create jobs for Miss Lamb's own constituents with a little support and relief from those company tax that Labor supports, as long as they're not in opposition. As highlighted in the report of the Fair Work Commission, employers are struggling to stay afloat. Penalty rate equalisation may put a chink in the budget of a minority of workers, but if their employers cannot continue to trade, then talk of pay rates is all academic anyway. The member for Longman should know this, but she's too busy drumming up business in my electorate of Petrie, hauling Cat and Erin, presumably the industrial powerless which she's referred to earlier, in front of a camera to discuss the impact of penalty rate cuts. I don't know Cat and Erin's particulars, but the interview was conducted outside Westfield North Lakes. The ladies work for a large retailer, but most in that situation are on EBAs, the same EBAs that the members opposite union has cut the guts out of. Did the member for Longman tell Cat and Erin that on public holidays they will still receive double time and a half if casual and double time and a quarter if full-time or permanent? Part-time? I'm doubtful. I'm doubtful, and the record shows Labor and the member for Longman do not like to let the facts get in the way of a good story, not in the community where they're whipping up fear, not in the parliament where they rely on convenient stats, not on the member for Longman's Facebook page where I'm told and labelled a crim and even more pathetic from the member for Longman, where my family is bought into her comments without any moderating from her. Political point scoring, forsaking the truth and her own credibility in the process. Shame on you.